Xpac 12360.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your hosts, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to Xpac 12360, everybody. All right. Yeah. Dear friend of mine, dear friend of a lot of ours in wrestling. Somebody I know for, I first met him in 91. Or actually, it might have been 91. Anyways, but Silver King died right in the middle of a match. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. We're going to talk about the Bret Hart documentary. Or not the Bret Hart, the Bret Hart, Tom McGee, Holy Grail documentary that I was a part of, and that's going to be like a subject for a panel with them at Starrcast. We're going to have Conrad Thompson on a little bit later to talk about, and we have Flowboy.
You got there.
Flobo Boyce joining us, the host of the Raw After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Welcome, Flobo.
Thank you.
Guys, sorry if I bumblefuck your name up.
That's really fun.
It's not going to be the last
honor,
time.
Sir.
And Denise Salcedo.
No, I'm sorry. The bumblefuck word got me. I was like, wait, what? What does that even mean? All right.
And I'm Steve Kaufman, as always.
Flobo Boyce saying bumblefuck was really fun.
But something happened the other night, and it was brought to my attention from a tweet by Matt Kuhn, who does some podcasting in the wrestling podcast space. And he and Jonny Fairplay were doing commentary during a independent wrestling show in North Carolina, and this kid, and his name is Ryan, I think Jacob. I think that's correct. And he had a match with Brad Anderson, who is a second generation son of the late great Gene Anderson, one half of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, who was just if you haven't, go back and look. Gene Anderson was great. But he goes in there and just, a kid giving you his body, it's not expecting it, and you go out there and you just beat the shit out of the kid, and it was really disturbing, and anyways, pretty pissed off by it. But I wanted, and on the line right now is Jonny Fairplay, and so he was kind of enlightening me a little bit, and the guy, the promoter's Julian Strauss, and it's RWA, and I was initially really pissed off, and thinking that he had something to do with setting this thing up and knew it was going to happen, and so Jonny has a little bit, he's trying to shed some light on it for me. He was there, and Matt was there, but Johnny's a little bit more, a lot more familiar with what goes on in wrestling than Matt, and Matt would be the first to admit that, I think. But Jonny, hey man, thank you for coming on.
Hey, Sean, great to be here. Happy to provide a little bit of insight. I promise I will not give 100% clarification, because I think there is a little bit of he said, she said in this, but I feel that I have a little more information than some of the others on this. And look, let me start by saying what happened with Bret Anderson. It was disgusting. I mean, no one.
Can you describe it for the?
Wow.
Hey, Jonny, can you describe it? What happened from your point of view to everyone?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Matt and I are doing commentary. So let me go back in time a little bit. So last month, they did an angle where Bret Anderson was in the ring, and he was talking about how he has this 18-year-old son. And he's training him to be a wrestler, and in the next few months, get ready, he's going to be something. And his son, is a small, probably about my size, maybe a little smaller, 18-year-old kid. So, and Brad walks around, and the kid walks around with Gene Anderson's boots, and blah blah blah. So anyway, so there was an angle 1 month ago in which this kid, Jacob Ryan, clotheslines the kid, Bret Anderson's kid, from behind. and leaves and it's a stiff clothesline, and then he runs out of the ring. He's like, look, I didn't come out here to listen to these old timers, never was jobbers, come out here and talk about their legacy that they never had. I came out here to make a name for myself, blah blah blah. Anyway, well, this Jacob Bryan kid, he's been at Julian Strauss been running shows for 3 years.
Yeah.
This kid's been at every show. If Julian didn't like the kid, he wouldn't have him there. Right. Julian, he's I personally feel, a lot of people will dispute this week, but I think he's a promoter. Like, I think he cares more about about the boys in the locker room than most promoters.
Okay.
Truth be told, I don't know if Julian's ever made money on a show. I honestly, and he's going to listen to this. I know he is, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's lost money every single show. And you don't do that if you hate the boys.
Sure. Yeah, I know the type, and I think I've met Julian before. I don't think I've worked for. I'm pretty sure I haven't worked for him, but
you did. You did Johnny and June in Winston Salem.
All right, so there you go.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you
right.
There is that type of guy. Yeah.
So the clothesline happens. And everything is cool, afterwards. Well, the next day, Bret Anderson's kid's like, my side kind of hurts. So he goes to the emergency room and finds out that he has a broken rib. And I don't think. I know it wasn't Jacob's fault. The kid landed wrong. Accidents happen. It was what it was. Might have been poorly trained, but that's
maybe, who knows? But just shit happens, and this is a fucking tough thing we're doing here, sport, whatever.
Yeah, that move was booked, and that was supposed to happen. Like, all that was supposed to happen. The kid wasn't supposed to get hurt, but it was an accident. Jacob is honestly, all these shows I go to, he's the first one to walk up, shake your hand, say yes sir, no sir.
Yeah.
I mean, he's what you want in a young wrestler.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Yes. So that 100% true. Okay. So anyway, Jacob finds out through the grapevine that he's hurt Bret Anderson's kid.
Yeah.
So from everything I've heard, Jacob reached out via social media. I don't know if it, Bret Anderson's Facebook or whatever, but he reached out, to apologize because, once again, this is a good kid.
Yeah.
And word does not make it to Bret Anderson, but it is not for lack of effort from Jacob Bryan. Okay. So it's also very important in the story. On the same show 1 month ago, the main event was Shannon Moore versus Damian Wayne, and the finish was a schmoz DQ deal, and security comes out to break them apart. Well, this is a little indie deal in North Carolina, so security's like, I'm going to get my shit in. I'm going to look good.
Oh, yeah. I've had to fuck a security guy up. I had to take care of some fucking security guy right in the middle of the ring on live fucking Nitro one time. Yeah, during a pull apart, because he was fucking trying to.
Because it's all about them. That's who the people came to see, security. So anyway, a week last week, Julian puts out, and Tim Winters, another guy that works for the promotion, puts out. It's just like, and this is based on the request of Shannon Moore and Damian Wayne, who were furious about these fucking security guys trying to get their shit in. Yeah. It's just like, hey, lay off. Unless you're really fucking needed and told to fucking do, you're there to put your hands up and kind of stand the fuck back. Don't, their job is to keep a fan from doing something, not to really touch a wrestler. So, and this is, once again, this is at the behest of Shannon Moore, who is in the main event, Damian Wayne, who's in the main event, and Julian Strauss, who is the promoter. So, and me being a wrestling personality, I agree 100%. I appreciate security from stopping someone punching me, but otherwise they can, I would say they're to be seen and not heard, but they're not even to be seen. Just do your job in the background. That's it. So anyway, but this is very important going into today. So there is a reminder at the beginning of the show on Sunday. Hey, once again, security, don't make this about you. This is not about you. Lay back. So before the show starts, they're doing pre-tapes, and Chris Shore, who is doing the filming of the pre-tapes in the back, he interviews Bret Anderson, and Julian Strauss catches a glimpse of the promo, and it's Bret Anderson channeling his inner dark side and going, "This is a shoot. I'm going to get you. I'm going to hurt you." Blah blah blah. But it's a wrestling promo, and
Yes.
that's how it should have been interpreted.
Yeah.
And that's hindsight's 20/20. Maybe not. Maybe we should have seen the signs. But it was actually the best work Bret Anderson's ever done, to be honest with you. So before the match, or as the match is about to start, Julian, White Mike is watching at the curtain, and Julian's watching, and Julian goes, you want to pay attention to this. He's about to shoot. Referring to the promo, not referring to, hey, he's going to hurt this kid that I've had at every show for 3 years. I mean, I don't know, for those that haven't seen White Mike's Facebook Live thing, White Mike's just like, hey, this guy knew, he even told me, watch him shoot. But I mean, maybe I could be wrong, and I'm not one to stick up for the authority. I'm as anti-authority as it gets. When my daughter was 1 year old, I taught her how to say "suck it." So I mean, I'm not here to to stand up for anybody that's holding down the man. But for that aspect of it, I don't think that Julian knew that he was going to hurt this kid. Once again, could be wrong, but I think it's a misinterpretation on the part of Mike White on that aspect. Okay, so anyway, they're in the ring, and Bret Anderson says, you hurt my kid, and I'm going to hurt you. So he goes right at him. He busts him in the mouth. He loosens some teeth, and he shoots on him, throws him outside the ring, and then chokes him.
No, man.
I don't know if he's trying to.
Hey, Johnny. So what it looked like to me was the kid was trying to get away from him. He grabs and rips his fucking shirt off. The kid rolls out of the ring. He follows him out, puts him in a fucking guillotine, lifts him up off the ground, and then fucking DDTs him. You could hear the smack on the fucking concrete.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
I don't know if he was trying with the guillotine. I don't know if he was trying to choke him out or break his neck. I don't know.
Right. It depends on how you grab it.
It is no secret, but it was to many before yesterday that, Bret Anderson is an ex-con. He has done real time for real shit. So Julian Strauss was aware that there was a checkered past, had no idea to the extent that it was. I know that. But Julian's also one of those guys, one of those promoters that's known for giving guys a second chance. I mean, I was banned from that promotion, and after 2 years of sobriety, it's just like,
I was gonna say you probably should have been, Johnny. Fuck. Yeah, but so hey, no, man, no, but Johnny. And not to go up into the weeds, but you've changed your life a lot, and people should know it, by the way, and that's another reason I'm glad you're on here. But it's admirable to give a guy. I'm all for an ex-con getting because you're supposed to have fucking paid your debt to society when you're out, and we should give chances.
He was there. He wanted to bring in his kid. He was training to be a wrestler. So Julian sees this as like, hey, here's a guy who's trying to carry on the Anderson tradition that kind of sidesteps Brad. Zan Panzer was probably not what Gene Anderson envisioned for his son to carry on the Anderson legacy.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that.
So anyway, so the kid's yelling for help. A lot of people are yelling at the referee who looks like Danny Bonaduce. They're just like, hey, Red the referee did nothing. There's nothing Red the referee could have done with Brad Anderson choking this kid.
Yeah.
So if anyone should hate Red the referee, I should hate him for looking like Bonaduce, and I think he's a pretty okay guy. Okay, so I do not and plus, Red's watching. He's just like, wow, what is going on? This sucks. And and for anyone that's just maybe Julian told him to do it because how cool it'd be to see someone really beat someone up. It's not exciting to watch someone just beat someone up.
Yeah,
There's a reason that people pay to see professional wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. So Johnny, so afterwards, like he finally, like the guy, I hear the splat on the fucking concrete, and then then they're broken up.
The kid's still yelling for help. The first one there is Julian Strauss, the promoter. And he's like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" Like he is. Yeah. You see him, and I saw him yelling at Brad Anderson. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
So once again, if this guy wanted him to beat up this kid that he's had on every show, just the math doesn't add up. Okay. So anyway, so afterwards, Brad goes to the back. All the wrestlers go. Where they storm the ring, then they all go to the back. So they're ready to. Everyone is ready to fight Brad Anderson.
Yeah.
And
are you there? Are you witness to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to the back to what? Am I going to fucking sit there? I told Matt Coon, I'm like, keep talking. I'm
okay.
the back.
Okay, so continue then. I want to hear your first-hand account. Okay.
So I go to the back, and so Brad's outside, and everyone's like, fucking, they're like, dude, you don't do that. Like, we put our lives in each other's hands. Like, you're fuck you. Like they're screaming at him. One of the international superstars, the British guy, he's begging Brad Anderson to come fight him. He was just like, come on, I dare you, please.
Yeah. So, who's that? Who was it?
The British guy from the International Superstars.
Oh, what's his name? Do you know?
I don't. Well, there's Blanco, Loco, and the other one.
Oh, okay. All right.
But anyway,
so what's
he's a
Brad?
beast.
I want to know what
he was begging him, and Brad didn't want to be. So Brad goes back in. So basically,
does he say anything?
Does
he say anything?
No, nothing. So the locker, and for the record, like before the show started, this dude is working out like a madman in the back, and he has this faraway look in his eyes. I mean, because I don't know if you've ever met Brandon. He's a fucking weirdo.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't remember whether I met him or not.
Once again, like American Psycho typically looks like American Psycho.
Okay.
So anyway, so fine. Collectively, all the boys are just like, if that dude doesn't leave right now in his gear, we're all leaving.
Yeah.
And Julian grabbed a police officer who was working the event, and and Brad Anderson was removed from the event in his gear. His girlfriend or wife or whatever grabbed his gear, and then he left. Okay, so here is a point of contention by some people, and I don't know what's true or not. So some people say that they saw Julian give Brad money out of his pocket on his way out the door. I don't know if that's true or not. I do know at the end of the night, when Julian's giving out our pay envelopes, he gave Jacob Ryan the envelope that said Jacob Ryan, and he gave Jacob Ryan an envelope that said Brad Anderson. I know he gave him both pays.
Okay.
So, which I think is good. So, but there's some people that are upset. They're just like, well, I asked Julian, just like, did you pay Brad Anderson? And he was like, no, I gave Jacob both the envelopes. I'm like, but did you give him other? He goes, honestly, I don't think I did. I don't think I would have. He goes, but in the heat of the moment, with the cop, because Julian's ready to have a heart attack at this point.
Yeah.
He was like, I could have. And for the record, if it's me, if I'm the promoter, and
here, just take it and get the fuck out.
Of all
What's that?
It's just like, here, just take the money and fucking go.
Yeah, if it's me, I definitely give him the money because I don't want that motherfucker calling me back. Like, it's just like, hey, here's your money. We're done. This business is over. Do not ever contact me again. I don't want to give him the opening to call me back.
Hey, so Matt Coon was saying, Jacob handled it well, and like he's not going to press charges.
No.
Fuck that.
No. I don't know where Matt Coon got that from. All right,
he should press charges.
Jacob did handle it well. He came back in the ring with Julian and said, this sucked, but everyone was having fun, blah blah blah. And he, I know as of today that he was planning on pressing charges, and Julian was there to assist him in any way possible.
Good. Hey, can we? Hey, Steve, can we have we reached out to see if Julian would come on the show and talk about this?
I reached out specifically to Revolution Wrestling's Facebook page in DM, and Julian is assisting and cooperating with Jacob Bryan as this may become a legal matter. At this time, it's best for him to not do podcasts until we know if it might affect Jacob's case.
Okay.
So they're helping.
I talked with Julian earlier today and basically said the same exact thing. He doesn't want to hurt Jacob.
I sent it. Did you hear me when I said I sent a tweet out like, tell him I don't fucking believe a word you said in your Facebook post.
Yeah. Well, once again, so, I mean, like, White Mike, for the record.
Not to be confused with Michael Blackson.
On the indies right now that I love more than White Mike. I mean, he is so fucking fun. He's great. I mean, like, because after his match, he's like, that's it. I'm done. I'm never fucking working here again. You can come see us somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. And I went up to him, and I was just like, dude, I'm like, that tag match with Jim Nasty Boys and the International Superstars was the most fun I've had commentating a match in years. I'm like, please, he's like, I don't know. I'll think about it. So,
right, so.
Here's the 2 points of contention that are, I think, the main points that in which White Mike believes that Julian is lying. When Julian is sitting there saying, watch him shoot, I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that Julian is referring to the promo. So,
well,
again, am I wrong? Could I
don't know,
yeah,
dude. I wasn't there. I don't know. I believe in giving benefit of the doubt. I know, but yeah. If he knew, it's a really fucking piece of shit fucking thing to do, and he should probably exit the wrestling business.
How would it benefit him in any way? Like it would be negative press. B, it's not fun to look at.
Yeah.
No one was.
It was so disturbing.
When it happened, it wasn't like half the crowd was like, "Hey, that was kind of cool." No, everyone was just like, that was like, number one, like, what the fuck happened? Number two, what a shitty person.
And I feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for Brad Anderson's son, Johnny. Like, because holy fuck, like, I mean, yeah.
Is it
How's
common?
that go? How's that
Is it common for the referee?
So did you see Frank Mir and Austin Aries have called him out for a match? And they both agreed. They said they would both put up the $40 it takes to book Brad Anderson in 2019.
That's great. You don't really need Frank Mir, honestly. And I'm not saying Brad Anderson's not a tough guy or whatever, but relatively speaking. But that's definitely a piece of shit, chicken shit, fucking thing to do. You could. So here's the thing about all this. Okay, and this goes for anyone. Okay, in the heat of the moment, your son gets hurt, you're fucking pissed, you lose it, and you do something. Okay, still maybe not the right thing to do, but you're in the heat of the moment. This fucking guy had how long to cool down?
A month. He had 30 days. Yeah, that's
fuck out of here.
Like that's a psychopath.
Yeah. So.
What's astonishing, too, is that nowadays everything ends up on social media. It doesn't matter how big or how small the show is. No matter what you go out there and do, it's going to end up out there for everyone to see. So I think that everybody has to know that, right? So if you don't and you still move forward with what you want to do, it's almost like if you just... you've passed that point of, knowing between right and wrong,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was just thinking... Oh, sorry. I was just wanting to add to this. Do you guys remember the story about a few months ago, or I don't even remember how long ago, in Mexico, where the guy threw the cylinder block at the other guy, I forgot their name,
for
the stiff chair shots? And it's like, okay, a stiff chair shot, but you're throwing a cylinder block? That could be murder, Yes, exactly. I don't know whatever ended up happening with that story, but
I know that
reminds me of it.
Yeah. Fuck.
And another thing, there's wrestlers saying that, 40 of the boys knew about this before it happened. I'm just like, well, if that's the case, y'all are some shitty friends.
That's a good point. That's a good point for anyone that's going, the promoter knew, but what about the boys and why didn't they fucking say anything? I want to know, actually. My
question is
afraid
it
of Brad Anderson?
Is it common for the referee in this situation to not
Brad
to
Anderson
not know what the match
had no friends in that locker room. So who are these boys that knew?
So did they really know? Did everyone know? Like, are you sure?
I don't think so. I think I would have heard. I mean, people. I think someone would have come up to me and just like, "Hey, Fairplay, did you hear? Like, I mean, because like wrestlers love to talk. That's why this story has legs right now, because wrestlers love telling the story that the Mike White story sounds like a good story or White Mike. It sounds like a good story to get behind. So they're retelling that. Even though it might not be like, I do believe it's factually true, but I do believe that there's misinterpretation here.
I'm sure it's possible, and but you hear the guy talk, and man, like you could tell that like he wasn't making shit up, and like the guy was about ready to cry at certain points, So, anyways, hey man, I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this because like I said, it is really fucking disturbing, and tell me what's going on with you right now before we got to move on to.
Sure. I got a podcast, which you can find at SurvivorNSFW.com.
Nice.
That's Survivor Not Safe for Work. The big finale of Survivor Edge of Extinction is this Wednesday night, so we'll be having coverage right after the episode. We also started coverage of The Bachelorette. It started last night, a new season with Hannah. She's whoring it around. It should be fun. So check us out on Monday night for our Bachelorette coverage. And, of course, you can get a T-shirt from JonnyFairplay.com, and when you do, you get a phone call from Jonny Fairplay.
Sweet.
But, check out my podcast, SurvivorNSFW.com. You might enjoy it. You might not. Either way works for me.
Everyone, a lot of people don't know this, but Johnny and I used to do a podcast together whenever he could fucking get me on the phone. And it was at a point where and sometimes it would go on for 3 fucking hours, just keep on talking about shit. And I don't know, I just kind of got tired of it.
3 a.m. podcast was Sean's favorite.
So, hey, thank you, Johnny. Hey, everybody, the most hated man in the history of the fucking Survivor show, Jonny Fairplay.
Give it up for Johnny. Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Have an awesome day. Fuck.
That story. I mean, I'm looking at the video now, and this guy got in his gear. He got in his ring gear and went to the ring to make this happen.
Yeah.
Which is way more premeditated than being premeditated,
Fuck.
Yeah, it's just surreal.
And I don't think every guy back there knew. If anybody knew, it was probably like a few people, but I don't think that everybody back there knew. It's just too crazy to me.
I guess my one question, we're talking a bit about the referee, is it common for the referee to not know what the match was? For them to just kind of go out and wing it with everyone else? Okay, is that very common?
Sometimes, you just go, hey, sometimes they go, what's the finish? And,
Cool.
Yeah.
Because that was my one thing when we were
finish.
talking about, does the promoter know? The first step would be, did the referee know?
Well, when I was in the biz, some of the promoters don't have the earpiece, so you just say this is what's the rundown going to be, and then something happens, it's a surprise. You're just trained to go with it, like yes and it can always break down.
A sad situation. Hopefully we don't have to see it anymore. And like I'm telling you, it just took me back to the whole Mexico thing. So yeah. We want to go into everything else we want to talk about?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and kick it off with the Holy Grail, the search for WWE's most infamous last match, which is a 30-minute documentary that aired last night after Raw, which was a story of Tom McGee and Bret Hart. Basically, this match was talked about for forever about basically Vince thinking that because of this match that Tom was going to be the next Hulk Hogan, and we finally got to see this match. You want to tell us a little bit about it since you were in the documentary?
Well, yeah, see, I knew, like, I know a little bit about the backstory of it, and I think I kind of got thrown in the mix because when they started talking about this last match, I'm like, oh, fuck. Back in, like, it was, I can't remember what year it was, but at a TV taping in Tampa, Florida, it was Tom McGee versus Ted DiBiase, and Teddy had a really good match. I mean, people really it was one of the better matches of the whole night, honestly. And I really thought that Tom was going to be a big star and that we were going to see so much more of him. When we didn't, for a while, I was like, what the fuck ever happened to this guy? Like, he was doing amazing things. And you've seen like some of the things he was doing, and just his look, and it was right up Vince's alley. And, so, but if he wasn't in there with a guy like Bret or Ted DiBiase or, someone of that caliber, it wasn't pretty. And it's because, he wasn't a wrestling person. Tom McGee. He came from, the world like this the strongman world and bodybuilding and, strength. He was took number 2 in the world's strongest man. It's incredible, like the guy's credentials, before he got into wrestling. And I think he just kind of got into wrestling. It was another, like he saw it on TV and he saw, okay, this big crowd, these guys are athletes. And it was another thing for him to accomplish. But he didn't have that love for it, I guess, and so and that's that makes a huge difference. So that being said, he didn't have the aptitude of a lot of people that come into wrestling. But when you watch this match with Bret, and if you watch a match with DiBiase, and there was one that he had with Arn, and to me, I look at that and I go, if they wouldn't have given up on this guy, and they had somebody for him to work with every night like that, which you couldn't do with, like a Ted DiBiase was a big, he was being pushed, and I'm sure. Anyways, I don't want to get,
he was in there.
I don't want to fucking ramble too much, but what I'm saying is, I just think that they could have gotten a lot more out of Tom McGee than they did.
Does that happen often? Do people get signed who love the idea of the craft, but not necessarily have the aptitude for it?
Yes, because they have so much potential.
Okay.
Especially when you go and you show off your athletic skills, and somebody how certain people, maybe a real estate, this is a weird analogy, a real estate investor can look at a fucking rundown house, but they see something different. They see it as it can be, when you, renovate it and rehab it and all that, or
the ideal versus the reality.
Yeah, and so I saw that with him. I think some people did see that with him. But anyways, what was I saying?
Isn't it interesting though that in hindsight, you see this match and for example, they might have thought, okay, Tom McGee is better because Bret Hart made him look so good, but because of what he looked like and what Bret Hart looked like, you might see Tom more as a star, obviously. But isn't it interesting that in hindsight, Bret Hart was the one that did everything to carry him forward, and then also moving forward to what we now know about what wrestling has become, is that it's not always the guy that looks like the wrestler that is going to really be the one that becomes a star, because obviously, as you know and everybody knows, that it takes more than what you look like or more than what people think you can be to actually get over in front of everybody watching.
But so that for sure. And also at that time though, people loved and Vince, it's a thing. Vince, it's Vince's company, and it's Vince's vision of what he wants his champion to look like, and it's just if they would have stuck with him and that actually and they did send him to Calgary and that, but he wasn't working with the right guys. You got to have for instance, I would have loved to have worked with him. Sure. He could be as long as he listened to me like he listened to Bret, piece of fucking cake. No problem. All you got to do is listen. I'd tell you exactly how I'd have done it, too. I'd have started out, because somebody was like, Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful. He was like, you should run down how you would have done it if you had a match with them. And I'll fucking tell you how I would have started it. And I learned this from Kurt Hennig. I did this in a match, I think it was on SmackDown. It was me, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash as the NWO versus Hogan, Rock, and Kane. And I started with Hogan. And I walked up with Hogan, and he fucking shoved me off, and I went flying over the top rope and landed on the floor. The fucking place went nuts. And it's just a perfect way to start to establish that, And then I would have shined him up, done a couple of shine spots with him, and then you have a guy like that stop himself, and you just kind of keep doing that type of thing until it's time for a comeback, and it's Anyways,
Yeah, no,
it would have been something like that. I'm just fucking riffing off the top of my head right now. So,
we're gonna find that GIF though of Hogan knocking you.
It was,
You selling a Hogan lock up push down.
so yeah. All right.
All right. Well, I've heard, I haven't been able to see the documentary, but I heard that it's really good. So I guess everybody watch it, check it out.
And Bret Hart, like the guy asked me, how good was Bret? And I said, Bret's as good as he said he was. And that's the truth.
All right. Well, we're moving on now to something obviously not very happy news. It's actually very terrible, which was the passing of Silver King this past weekend in London. He died in the ring at the age of 51. He was wrestling Juventud Guerrera, and this was for the Lucha Libre's World Promotion, the greatest show of Lucha Libre. He died in the ring. It's still not for sure exactly what happened, but it is said that he had a stroke in the ring, and basically what happened afterwards has spurred a lot of, I guess you can say, opinions or controversies with how everything was carried out. What you should know is that afterwards it did take some time for him to receive medical assistance, medical help. The match did finish off, and the rest of the show was canceled though, but there is some controversy considering how long it took.
What do you mean the match did finish off?
Well,
was there more than it wasn't a singles match?
After his the match, like Hoovy still got his pin, did his celebration. That's what I meant by the match finished, and then afterwards the show was canceled.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but basically the controversy is that, it took so long for Silver King to get assistance that, some may wonder, what if there was, some doctor or an EMT or whatever, someone there nearby that could have maybe perhaps saved his, I don't know if his life could have been saved, but some people have been raising that question. Yeah. But a little bit about him is, he was a son of Dr. Wagner, brother of Dr. Wagner Jr., which many said that he was actually one of the better of the two brothers.
Yeah. Definitely was okay. I'll wait till you finish.
No worries. Okay, well, just some other facts. He's been wrestling since 1985. Wrestled in different promotions in Mexico, UWA, CMLL, AAA, and he was wrestling in WCW in 1997.
Yes. And he so in 1991, I started going to Japan for Universal Pro Wrestling, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but it was the precursor to Toryumon and Dragon Gate. Which I think you're probably familiar with, right?
Right.
So it was El Gran Hamada was like the star, and then they had Ultimo Dragon. Before he was Ultimo Dragon, was the number one young main eventer of Universal Pro, and then he was signed by anyways. Mm-hmm. So I was the first American to go for the for Universal Pro, and other than that, it was just their Japanese talent and all luchadors, all Mexican, all the greats, Dos Caras, Hijo del Santo, Blue Demon Jr., you name it, Villanos, I could just every tour there was somebody just the best, right? And it was at a time when Mexico had devalued the peso, so shit was tough down there, anyways, so yes, I got to know those guys real well. We spent a lot of time together. Silver King Tejano as they were called Los Cowboys. Yeah. And they were one of the greatest teams of their era. At the time that I was going over, I think they were one of the top 5 teams in the world.
Well, they were wrestling a modern lucha style, and at this point, you weren't really seeing Mexicans being booked in the States. And one of the things that I was listening to when Dave spoke about Silver King was he said that the thing about Silver King was that he attracted both audiences.
Yes.
Obviously, American fans have a different view of lucha and a different view of wrestling versus Mexican fans. And he spoke about how certain guys sometimes, if you bring in an American guy to in front of a Mexican audience, you can be turned off, and vice versa. But Silver King, he said, was one of the people that actually was able to captivate both American audience and the Mexican audience.
And the Japanese.
Exactly, because of his style and how he was able to work.
Yeah, hybrid style. Both of those guys. And because I also work with Hijo del Santo and a little bit like Blue Demon. Well, not so much Blue Demon Jr. because he does a pretty good job of adjusting to American style. But Hijo del Santo, I had to just like try to adjust completely to him, you know, from working the other side. You know, like,
right.
you know, we worked the left side, they worked the right. And just, and it was so weird. Not that he's not great, but like, you know, so it wasn't a good mix. Whereas like I fucking felt right at home in there with, you know, Silver King. Matter of fact, you know, you watch BS 123 Kid and like matches I had with Sean, different guys, like you'll see me do the Silver King spot where I run the parallel to the ropes, jump up to the second turnbuckle and, you know, like vault over to the side out onto the guy on the floor. That's Silver King's all day long. I never see anyone, but like I think he invented it and I stole it. And, yeah. And just also like I tweeted a match last night. It was myself, Jerry Lynn, and Dr. Wagner Jr., who was amazing. And when you say they say Silver King was the better of the two, maybe in some ways. I don't know, like, you know, in some ways he was. He did a lot of cooler shit, but man, Wagner is fucking so great. So like, you know, I don't know. But anyways, the match I just seen up there, and it's me, Jerry, and Wagner Jr. versus Dos Caras and the Cowboys. And actually, if you see the beginning, Silver King broke my fucking eardrum. Because like we had a miscommunication, like, you know, and it was kind of like, you know, and so like I slapped him in the chest, and he cuffed me, and I don't think he did it on purpose, but it caught me right in the ear. Like I could whistle out of I could plug my nose and blow my nose, and you could hear whistle coming out my ears.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, but yeah. And when I lived in Mexico and worked for AAA, and Silver King came to work there, you know, he used to give me rides and stuff sometimes, and just it was like. It was so great that when I lived in Mexico, a lot of American guys go down there, right? And they're lost. They don't know anyone. And, you know, I had this relationship with all the great guys in fucking Lucha Libre, you know, all those guys. And I'm so grateful for it. And they were so good to me. Fuck. Oh, I just felt so bad for, you know, I think about the families. I think about the mother. Like I saw Wagner post a picture of his, you know, those two with their masks on and his mother, you know. And I also, fuck. I still have matches, you know, and I'll be 47. In July, and you know sometimes I have tag matches now for this very reason. You know sometimes it's tough out there, and if you don't think that I don't fucking think about this happening to me, like you're wrong. So not that anyone necessarily thinks that or not. I just like I do. You know it's. I mean, shit can happen really bad out there. You know, we're going out there trying to do this, and we love this, and it's so rewarding for us too, and we love doing it for all of you. But this is what's going to happen. Let's not start blaming people for whatever, but like, you know, let's have some fucking safety measures in place. You know, you know, I've been in situations. I remember one time a kid kicked me in the throat, and like literally my throat blows up. It was like a Scott Steiner thing that happened in Puerto Rico where he had to have emergency surgery. I didn't have to have surgery, but my larynx was fucked. I couldn't breathe, and I'm fucking yelling, help me, call the fucking ambulance. And they just looked at me like I was stupid, and nobody did anything. I'm telling the referee, and I was like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And I get it. You don't know what to do because you haven't been trained on what to do. You haven't been properly fucking trained. And everyone thinks this is some little shit where you can, like, you know, just throw a ring up and grab a guy and say, hey, you're the fucking ref. You've seen it done on TV. Count to 3, you know. You know, not think about the fact that something like this can happen. and has happened. You know, this shit it's not the first fucking time this kind of shit has happened. You know, and who knows? Who knows if there's you know, if a paramedic would have been on hand, if, you know, we could have saved his life. That's not fucking fair to do to anyone now. But moving forward, we need to like make sure, you know, we can prevent this as much as possible from happening in the future. Everyone, and hey, yes, it costs more money. But like, honestly, if you can't provide that, you shouldn't run a fucking show.
Mm.
So, Sean, you think that there should be provided ambulance, or do you think that it should be something where a state begins to where you have to get licensed in terms of like the athletes should be checked out, you know, prior to getting into the ring, get a full sports physical, or do you mean that plus having the referees trained, plus having an ambulance?
I don't know, but it's definitely a conversation that needs to happen. Okay. I don't know. Like, at least for sure having an EMT on hand. I don't know if that means an ambulance is there too. But if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. You know, because we're out there. We mostly just all the other guys, because I'm not doing this as much anymore. But risking their lives, it's the least you can do.
Okay. I guess one of the last things I do want to add, since you did talk about El Hijo del Santo, is Silver King. He was training his son as well prior to his passing, so that should tell you everything. I mean, someone like El Hijo del Santo trusted Silver King to train his son. That should tell you a lot about his skill.
Mm-hmm. So great, and he was great, and you know, without speaking a word, he was tremendous in Nacho Libre. Let's not forget.
Absolutely.
Ramses.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Hey, fuck. I was gonna just say rest in peace and all that, but like it's so cliche. Like, there's just no words. There's just no words. Just love to you, Caesar, and love to your family. I like from the bottom of my heart. I'm fucking just brokenhearted.
Yeah.
From the bottom of my heart, I'm just fucking brokenhearted. Like, can I?
Yeah.
I'm just making fun of like what I just said. Like
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, we earned the explicit tag on this episode. We're good.
Jesus
We're good.
Christ.
We're totally fine.
And I know there's no easy transition from this onto our next topic, so I'm just going to jump right into it since we have a few more minutes for news. Totally different subject, but AEW will be announcing a TV deal shortly on May 15th, which is tomorrow. They're going to be having a Warner Media TV upfront in Madison Square Garden. The rumor is that there's going to be a weekly show on TNT airing this fall, and this could be very, very huge in terms of what this means for wrestling, what this means for the competition. But Sean, do you want to get into that? What are your thoughts?
I don't want to get into it too much, but it's great news for the industry. Great news for the industry, and it's what we expected. Like, because I mean, like as soon as this, you know, you kind of hear rumors, and then you know people trust you with information, and you don't tell anybody. And this was kind of what I heard was going to happen. And I don't think like no one talked about it on, you know, on podcasts or like printed it, but I think a lot of people kind of knew like it was going to be TNT.
And it makes TNT very strong because of the NBA package. Some may even wonder, does it make it stronger than USA Network? I think it's a point to bring up, considering that they have the NBA package and that could draw a lot of viewership. And that's one of the things that even though when Impact was on Spike TV, they got good views because of being on Spike TV, but having something like this with sports behind it could have umped that up, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, because the key if you're on like a top 10 cable network is that you're converting viewers who are watching the NBA. Whereas if you're on Impact on Spike TV, those were all Impact viewers. Impact had to go out and find those viewers and make them find Spike TV and then make them find them on Spike TV. If you're on TNT, half that battle's done.
Well, at the point that when Impact was on Spike, they also had the UFC deal too. Mm-hmm. So there was a little bit of crossover for sure.
And then as soon as like the rumor came out, like as soon as people started, because I think it was, I want to say it was like Fight Oracle. Mm-hmm. I saw like first, you know, post something about it because it kind of got leaked through some kind of a like a trade journal or something.
Well, because if you're doing upfronts at Madison Square Garden on the 15th, it goes from having a dozen people involved to having hundreds or possibly thousands of people on an email or in a pitch deck, or it becomes known.
It was the announcement for that he posted, and no one had really heard anything publicly until then. And but immediately people were going like, "Oh no, they're gonna have to buy TV time," and no, they're not.
They don't need to.
It's just a lot of naysayers. I just wish them the best and all that.
The rumor is that AEW trademarked the name Tuesday Night Dynamite. I think this is a red herring because I don't think that's a great name.
I don't know.
I think it's too similar to Nitro.
I just don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know, and it's like,
Thoughts on Jerry Lynn becoming a coach/producer?
Oh, good for Jerry. I'm happy for Jerry. Jerry kind of had a little while there where he, when you're done wrestling, you kind of get hurt and all these things, and it can make you go into a slump for a while, I think, and he might have had one of those. I'm not, and just okay. What I'm trying to say is like. He deserves to cash in on this new wrestling boom. Like he's one of the guys that helped this fucking happen, and he's one of the greats in the ring, one of the unsung greats. Not only would I not be where I am today if it weren't for my matches with him, that we beat the fuck out of each other when we first started wrestling. Not that that's like the cool, but it was it added to the whole. We did shit that other people wouldn't do. Right. We went to greater lengths than everyone else. That's why, anyways, and I definitely couldn't have done it without him. So, people they talk a lot about his ECW, title reign, but not as many talk about being ROH World Champion, and he was, and he was a great one.
He was an incredible ROH World Champion. He and that was after the Nigel McGuinness run, which was also an incredible run in Ring of Honor. I remember specifically the weekend that transition happened. It was WrestleMania 25, I believe that was Houston. That had happened at Ring of Honor, and then I'm just in line to go into WrestleMania the next day, and Jerry Lynn is like 2 people behind me, just because. He loves wrestling that much. Yeah. He bought a ticket to watch WrestleMania. Yeah. So Jerry's
everything, and Jerry's doing well, and it makes me happy. And
He's talked guys like Chris Sabin, AJ Styles, Low-Key, Alex Shelley. His matches with Low-Key and AJ Styles is actually what made me get into Impact Wrestling from the start. So that was like my. Okay, I'm a Jerry Lynn fan thing. All right. But there you go.
Okay, hey, so is there anything we want to talk about from Raw before we...
Before we go, if you want to talk about... I know you had some good comments about the Firefly Funhouse.
I just was like, hey, it was just like, okay, we got a couple weeks of these, and they're like, I'm amused, like, and I just think they're brilliant, but it's like, where are they going with this? And then last night... And I'm kind of half-assed paying attention, because I'm just, it's another one of these. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's like some Donnie Darko looking shit, right? And I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck's going on here? Look at that. And it was like everything just turned.
Do you want to see my secret?
Yeah. How great was it? I mean, I do you all share my enthusiasm? Or no?
I watched it live, and I was like yourself. So I was smiling when you were saying it. I saw the Firefly Funhouse. I go, here comes another one of these. Which animal is getting destroyed today? And then the lights go off, and it switches. And I have so many questions, but all for the good reasons. It's like, where does it go? I want to see this in the ring. Is he going to torment somebody? Like, what is the next step for this? So I'm on board.
Yeah.
I have a lot of faith in anything Bray Wyatt's up to.
Me too.
But I would worry if this were just like Killian Dane in the same spot, I would be really worried. And I think a lot of us would, where we'd be like, what are they doing? This is all over the place. But Bray Wyatt, we have a lot of faith in.
The thing is about Bray Wyatt is when he does something like this, he goes all fucking in.
Gotta let the gimmick, baby. Because
you have to. If you're doing something like that and you're not 1,000% in, you can be 99.999 and it ain't gonna work. Mm-hmm. It's gonna work as long as they fucking follow through. And let it play out and not not cut it off at the fucking legs.
Yeah, give him airtime for sure.
Yeah. So.
It strikes me that given that this is essentially the second turn, because we saw vignettes without him, then we saw vignettes with him as essentially a Mr. Rogers, Pee Wee Herman. Now we're seeing him more or less a Joker. The fact that there's this much weekly planning leads me to believe there's a lot on the bone here for them to do.
Yeah.
He just needs time. The last thing you want is him to debut and then be forgotten week to week or brought back twice a month. Like, it's all about momentum now. Yeah.
This gives him something for us to look forward to, not for him not to just get lost in a shuffle, essentially.
Exactly.
And it's an interesting in-ring character to someone who's may not have seen any of this. Because that was the issue they ran with the guy he was for the last 2 weeks. Just in a sweater vest. Like, that worked great in those promos. But him in the ring.
Argyle.
But him in the ring, you run the risk of people just in the live crowd who might not have seen all the promos and know all the backstory. Like, why is Bray Wyatt dressed like Mr. Rogers? Right. Whereas now that guy walks to the ring, you don't need to know anything other than that face.
It says a lot.
Oh, he's creepy.
It says a lot how in this modern era that there's willing to try another character from the ground up. I feel a lot of guys don't get that opportunity. It's kind of like, here's your shot. Oh, well, didn't like you. Well, we're gonna move you on to something else.
Hey, so I'm a fan of like the Mojo Rawley thing, but I don't understand the face paint, and I think it's totally unnecessary for what they're going for. We
mentioned this on the Raw AfterBuzz show, is that it seems that they're almost too similar if Bray Wyatt's on the same roster to have Bray Wyatt's character be so developed and have Mojo Rawley have some vignettes being off TV, debut a main event, and then have a squash match the day after. Mojo's been around for a while. I mean, she gets some mileage out of there, but I'm kind of nervous that these two gimmicks may overlap a bit.
Also, speaking of main event, I read this morning that EC3 lost to Titus ONeil on a main event taping last night.
Oh man!
So I'm very curious how they see EC3 on the main roster.
We'll get into that.
Man. I'm kind of dumbfounded about that too, because I figured okay, this guy's made for the main roster way more than NXT. I thought, so I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that, and I don't want to deep dive into it either. Actually, at the moment. Anything else, Flobo?
Any thoughts on Becky, Charlotte, Lacey?
It seemed like a pretty good It seemed like a good segment, and that was the way to end it.
Sure.
It's definitely not going to be a night off for her, but I like the defending both titles on the same night. I like that, and I wonder if they're going to take one of them off of her. I hope that she keeps both of them.
Yeah. If you navigate 2 matches and a Money in the Bank match and come out with both titles, I think you're kind of bona fide at that point.
Yeah, I think it would. It doesn't. I don't think that. I think they could do that. Have her keep both do whatever, and they could still continue this
because
storyline.
She can either win both matches and then lose to the Money in the Bank winner, or win both matches and then still eke out a win on the Money in the Bank winner and then be bona fide. So whoever beats her next is queen.
Sure.
Anything else on Raw that we want to talk about?
I think
anything stick out in your... No?
I think we're good. I mean, there's a lot of things going post-Superstar Shakeup and the wild card rule. That's still settling there. I think Raw is on a rebuilding episode. It was last week, so pretty much there.
And I hear that ratings are up from...
Last week,
last week.
Yeah.
That's good news.
That's good to hear, yeah.
All right, well, so I'm going to take a really short break. I mean, almost instantaneous if you're listening to this or watching. Anyways, whatever. Yeah. We're going to take a break and come back with Conrad Thompson and talk about... I wasn't finished talking. Welcome back, everybody. On the phone right now is... I've heard this expression, Podfather, and the king of podcasting. I can't argue with any of those. It's Conrad Thompson, and he's also one of the fucking nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. Conrad, thank you.
Wow. Well, thanks, man. That's a heck of an intro. I don't know about the Podfather. I've never called myself that.
I know you haven't. Other people have, and then I know somebody said, "Oh no, Adam Carolla's the." So it's not like you were claiming it, but it just, that type of title suits you. Is all I'm saying.
Well, I appreciate that. But what made my day is when you said I was one of the nicest people. I feel the same way, man. We hit it off right away, and it's been a mutual admiration society ever since. So it means a lot that you would have me on.
Well, no, dude. Hey, dude. I usually don't say dude, but it's better than bro. But this is one of the reasons why I can't wait to see you at Starrcast this year. And look, man, I remember how you were after Starrcast, the first one, and you were like, God damn, I don't know if I'm gonna fucking do another one of these. And everyone's just like, please, come on, Conrad. And thank you for doing it, Conrad. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I'm back in Starrcast hell, and I'm regretting my decision. You know, it always sounds like a good idea, and I was really anxious to try to do better. You know, because the thing is, last year all I could see were the problems. Now the fans don't see that; they're just having a great time, and you know,
that's what I was trying to say. Like, no, the people think this is the greatest fucking thing ever. Don't worry.
Well, meanwhile, I'm like, oh man, we could have did this better and we could have did that better. So I'm excited to try again. And that seemed like something that was a great idea like 6 months ago. And now I'm like, man, why am I doing this?
Big grouchy Kev like texted Conrad he was gonna beat him up if he came down and fucking talk to him at breakfast. And Conrad's going, oh, should I be worried about this? I'm like, no, it's good. He'll be fine.
Well, you know, Keven and I had always gotten along so great, and it was just like out of left field.
That's just big grouch mode. That's all.
Yeah. Either way, all good.
Oh, hey Conrad. So this it just seemed like an even bigger and better Starrcast than the first one, and and obviously, like, let's just talk about it. There's been a few bumps in the road for you.
Oh, without question. You know, there's been bumps at every single turn, but I kind of expected that nothing would go as planned. Yeah. Bruce Pritchard, when I was doing the first one, he said, hey, just so you know, I know you've spent a lot of time planning and preparing and crossing your T's and dotting your I's, but nothing's going to go as planned. Right. So don't get your hopes up. And I just thought that was like, well, boy, that's a negative thing to look at. And he was like, no, I don't mean that ugly. It's just curveballs are going to come your way. And so a month out, things will get bad. And then 2 weeks out, they'll get a little worse. And then you'll think you've got it all figured out. And then the day before, everything will change, but you'll live through it. Yeah. And he was right. There were lots of curveballs, but we lived, and there's been curveballs that people know about this time. Sure.
Is this something you want to talk about? Because I kind of don't mind. I mean, I just it's honestly, it wasn't a surprise to me, Conrad, that Taker got pulled.
Yeah, I mean, listen, in the end of the day, I try to find the positive in everything, and now what fans know most of all is I was willing to put my money where my mouth was, and I had a good idea to try something big and something new and something different. And it got everybody's attention and got everybody talking about Starrcast. And in the end, it didn't happen. But, overall, I had a handful of refund requests, and that was it. It wasn't. I think a lot of people were like, hey, we still are excited about what you're putting together, and this was a cool thing, but it wasn't the only thing. So they're still in.
So are you not, like, I know it's disappointing, but you couldn't have been shocked.
I mean, I was a little bit, just because I paid a deposit.
Oh, the deal was done. Yeah.
We have a signed contract. We have a deposit paid. We've worked out, transportation. I mean, so all the little nitty gritty details that would have to be worked out, I'm thinking are good. Like, they sent me the images to use, and they approved the images we were going to run, and they approved of the way we were going to sort of break the story and shock the world that he was coming. And so we talked about all that stuff in great detail. So I really legitimately believed that I'd done everything by the book. I didn't think I had done anything sort of underhanded or anything
Obviously
like that.
Obviously you didn't.
I mean, I had a contract, and he was actively soliciting bookings on his social media handles, and he still might be. And I couldn't have predicted at the time that this would be the way it wound up. But once it was, there were, well, we'll get you a suitable replacement. And
how's that?
Mordecai's coming? That's crazy.
But I mean, Booker's going to be there. Mark Henry, other guys that still work with the company, like myself, and Conrad. No one even alluded to, no one even like suggested that maybe I shouldn't go do this. Like, I already made the deal, and like, so, but hey, so did you, like, I saw when they announced they were airing the Tom McGee Bret Hart match documentary, like, I saw your response to that. I didn't even know you were having the panel. When did you
announce?
Get Tom McGee on board for that?
We started talking right before WrestleMania and had it sort of sewed up shortly after, and then it took a little while to come up with the video, and we pushed out a video that I was really, really proud of and think it's probably one of the best things that we've ever done. Chris McDonald gets all the credit for that. I had an idea for what I wanted the actual video to look like, but I'm not, technically inclined to be able to do any of that, but he has a skill set that just blew me away. And so the video we posted one day after we had to announce that Undertaker wasn't going to be there. So, the old school sandwich technique is what I used, and I'm going to explain what that is. So you give a little bit of good news, and then you give some bad news, and then you give a little more good news. So my good news was, hey, Taz is making a rare appearance. He never does anything like this. And he really doesn't. And so then we did, here's the Undertaker news, which is bad. But hey, here's two more pieces of good news. We got Kobashi and we got the Tom McGee panel. I mean, Tom McGee's never done a convention like this at all.
Never.
So the idea that we had him and Bret talking about the match, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so did you watch the documentary last night, Conrad?
I did, and I was going to give you a high five through the show today for giving me a low-key plug, but you didn't even know you were doing it last night when you said, well, there's a market for Tom McGee meet and greet.
I didn't know, but great minds think alike. So, boy, what a cliche thing to say. After watching it, I think that it kind of just makes it even better, when the panel happens, honestly, regardless of what their intentions were.
Oh, well, 100%. And so the idea that I was going to post this video, and we got over 400,000 impressions on that video within 2 days. I mean, it went super viral when we announced that McGee was coming, and we had the internet buzzing. I told everybody in my circle, I said, hey, just so y'all know, WWE is going to push this out a week or two before Starrcast. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, just let me assure you that when they see there's some buzz here, they're going to make sure it comes out on the network. And they were kind of down on it, like, why would they do that? I'm like, no, that's not bad for us, because we're going to get all the hype and the buzz for a few weeks. And then when WWE announces they're going to air it, it's going to make everybody say, oh, I can't believe they're doing this and blah, blah, blah. So they'll be talking about Starrcast again. And then by the time we actually get around to the event, people will have already seen the match, and that more people will know about Tom McGee than ever before.
Yeah, more people will care, and it won't be just it's all new information to them. They'll be up to speed on a lot of it. Yeah.
I think it worked out for the best. I'm not upset about it at all. And, I have a good relationship with the folks who helped put together the video, and they're like, hey, we just want you to know, no, this is great. This is good for me. This is good for Starrcast. It's good for Tom. It's good for Bret. And I'm really glad that Tom is getting sort of his moment in the sun, because he's one of those forgotten guys from wrestling, and now he's getting, to a little bit of glory, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, and so in the mid '90s, when we would go to Gold's Gym Venice, we'd see Tom McGee there all the time, but he looked so different. He didn't look that much different than he does now. It's just he had a mullet, longer hair. He had thinned out a lot, from his World's Strongest Man days, but he was such a nice guy, always so pleasant. And I don't know what the fuck, where I was going with that.
He's probably going to be great on a panel.
I just, Jesus Christ, talk about having a brain fart. Anyways.
I think what you're thinking, Sean, is that you don't have to be in Las Vegas to see this. You can watch it.
Exactly. Oh, but you know what I wanted to say, though? Conrad, I wanted to take a moment to just compliment your team. All the people you have you've surrounded yourself with, the Dave Silvas, all these different people that are just doing such a great job on all this stuff. I'm really envious, and I have a great team too, but I could use a few extra people. It's an incredible amount of stuff you get done.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Sort of the four horsemen of Starrcast have been Chris McDonald, who's done all of our graphics and videos, and everything you've ever seen from us was pretty much created by him. And Dave Silva's handling all the logistics and the app and all that stuff. And Scott Hyatt has helped put together all the travel, and that is a major, major undertaking. And Jeff Jones and Dave Hancock, and just on and on and on. It is quite the team of folks who have helped. And
Dave
we've
Hancock,
even got a lady on the team this year, which is new for us. But we've got Allison Faye. Yeah,
Who?
I think you met Allison last year. She was our info desk at Starrcast.
Oh, okay, yeah. And oh shit, who else? Who were you just saying? Oh,
Dave Hancock?
Yeah, before Dave Hancock.
Jeff
Scott
Jones?
High.
Yeah, Jeff
Jeff
Jones. He and I went to wrestling school together.
Yes.
We were both trained by the great Malenko.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't seen him since. Not one fucking time, Conrad. Since 32 years. Or however long it's been, 30 years. At least I don't think I might have been all fucked up and not remembered.
That's tremendous.
Sorry if I'm saying the F word too many times, Conrad.
Oh, I don't fucking care.
Perfect.
Oh,
So,
shit. Go ahead.
Conrad, with so many different events and things going on at Starrcast, for you personally, which one are you most excited for?
You know, I think it's got to be the roast of Ric Flair. You know, that's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I think it's big enough to be its own standalone event. And I think it's a tremendous value for wrestling fans because we're pulling out all the stops. We've got really big-time comedians, including a great friend of the show here, Ron Funches, is hosting that. And just a who's who of professional comedians and Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer on the dais. It's going to be something special, and it's Friday night at Starrcast.
Hey, so, you know, you were saying it could be a standalone. Absolutely. And you could air that on Comedy Central and draw a hell of a fucking rating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so what we're trying to do is, you know, we've got a different set for this. We've got a different backdrop. We've got, you know, just a whole different feel, more cameras, the whole thing, because we want to really document this and do it nice. And we'll probably have a DVD release afterwards. And we want to make it, you know, first class. And we originally reached out to Jeff Ross because, you know, when you think of roast, you think of him. He was booked that day doing something like bumping mics or whatever he's doing with Dave Attell, which is tremendous.
Yes.
And I thought, well, you know what? Who else could we get that is more Ric Flair than Ron Funches, who was just on that special? You know, they did that special together where Rick appeared on the open for Ron's show, and I just thought,
on
man,
Giggle Fit, on the opening of Giggle Fit, it's classic. It just I mean, it sets the pace for like, you know, it sets a whole like. Anyways, yeah. And plus, you know, he's such a friend to wrestling, and yeah, he deserves it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just and you know, full disclosure, I think everybody knows Ron Funches is one of my very best friends. So you're always going to hear nothing but kind words come out of my mouth when it comes to him. So yeah, and so I was with Dan St. Germain the other night. It was his birthday, and he killed it at the last at the Pritchard roast, and so yeah, I think he's going to probably do the same at this one.
Yeah. Dan St. Germain and Mike Lawrence last year were murderers at the roast, and we brought them back because they had some moments that weren't just, you know, the audience didn't just laugh; they gasped like, "Oh no!" And that's what you look for in a roast. And man, those guys were brutal, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
Now, for the fans' perspective, you know, obviously there's going to be some changes from the first Starrcast to now. What changes or additions might the fans notice in attendance or anything that you want to point out?
Well, first of all, we've got a lot more space. You know, when I set up last year's Starrcast, I was hoping 800 fans would show up, and so I was not really prepared for the mass of humanity that would be in the hallways. So there's no tables in the hallways this year. We've got a much bigger venue. You know, last year our main stage, you know, was only like 9,000 square feet. Our main stage this year is 25,000 square feet. Our secondary stage was 6,000 square feet. This year it's like 15,000 square feet. So we've got tons of space, tons of seating. Everybody's going to be able to see every show. And our vendor room last year was really, really cramped. We only had like 5,000 square feet. We've got 16,000 this year. So the biggest difference is our infrastructure. We've got more space, and it won't be nearly as difficult to move around. And we've got an app now. That was something that we didn't have last year. So if something changed, if someone was running late, our plane was late, or you know, whatever, I need to be able to communicate with the people who bought tickets for that meet and greet right then, instantly, so they know what's going on. So we have a Starrcast app now, which is available for a free download anywhere you enjoy apps. So if you've signed up for that, you'll get push notifications whenever anything changes at all.
I'm curious to know, like, how many of the people that were able to make it the first Starrcast in Chicago are able to make it to the one out here on the western part of the country in Vegas, and how many new people will be coming, and from where? Like, it's intriguing to me.
It is, and I think Vegas is usually looked at as more of a fly-in town, whereas Chicago may be more of a drive-in town.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is probably one of the more expensive weekends to come to Vegas. So I expect that we've probably got a lot of new folks, but I know for sure we've got a lot of the same folks because I'm seeing the names come through on the order. It's like, oh, I remember that name.
Oh, nice. And Kobashi, let's talk about that. You know, like some people that might not be a big deal, but to others, huge.
Yeah, what's funny is when I was first floating these ideas past Dave Meltzer, I said, hey, man, what about Kobashi? And he just thought, he's like, if you get him, I think that's the only time he's ever done a meet and greet in America. And a meet and greet is not really a thing they do much in Japan. It's
I don't know why.
Like it's here.
I don't know why, Conrad, because it's just, you know, it would be right up their alley over there. But anyways.
If I knew how to speak Japanese, there would be a Starrcast 3 in Japan. But I don't. So
That would be fun. Yeah.
That would be cool. So either way, though, it's not really a thing. And so this is really the first opportunity that a lot of fans will have to meet one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And that's something people throw around a lot. But when you really look at, you know, Japanese wrestling, I mean, he's one of the absolute greatest of all time. And this will be his first appearance in 14 or 15 years. And I think his first meet and greet ever. So I wanted to bring something a little different. And so we've got Tom McGee for that sect of hardcore tape collectors, and maybe now a few more since they've seen it on the network. But if you were a hardcore, you know, strong style Japanese wrestling fan, Kobashi's your man, and he's here too.
Nice. And so also, I maybe a lot of people don't know, you know, Kobashi, I'm pretty sure he had brain cancer at one point or something, or a brain tumor or something like that, you know.
He's had a tough go, but he's excited to be here. And I think one of the things that I should mention that actually helped me, because we talked about why maybe Vegas may be more challenging to get to. It's a fly-in town, and it's more expensive that weekend or whatever. But it was really easy to attract someone like Kobashi because, you know, I don't mean any offense, I'm not inviting him to Omaha. I'm inviting him to Las Vegas. So
yeah.
In Japan, they're like, oh, Las Vegas. Well, that's different. So he's going to come in a few days early, stay a few days later, and I mean, I think he's going to have a really, really great time.
I think you're right. He's so.
Well, earlier, I know, Sean, you asked this, but yeah. I wanted to get a little bit of clarification where, you know, the last time we had you here, you were like, oh my God, like freaking out about like whether or not there'd be a Starrcast 2, right? And so it finally happened. But when was that point where you were like, okay, I'm going to do this again?
Well, you know, in fairness, I kind of thought after Starrcast 1, like this was a once in a lifetime thing because realistically, Cody and the Bucks, you know, they're not going to continue down the road they're on, and they're probably not going to stick together. Like these guys will sign here and those guys will sign there, and everybody goes their own separate ways. And this all-in revolution that happened last year will just die off. And you know, I don't mean to be negative, but I just assume, hey, people are going to take the big payday and they're going to quote unquote go to New York. And that didn't happen. Yeah. I couldn't have predicted All Elite Wrestling. I've been friends with Tony for a while, and I knew that he liked wrestling, and I knew that the idea existed. But when it came time for the rubber to meet the road, I just thought guys would sign, you know, a deal here or a deal there or whatever, and they wouldn't keep the band together, so to speak. But when All Elite Wrestling became a thing, and it was apparent, oh no, this is really going to happen, then we started to have conversations about, hey, if this happens, the first show will be here or here. Would you be interested in doing another Starrcast? And that took like 13 seconds. And I was like, yep, because I knew there's an opportunity for me to have another go at it. And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, all I've focused on ever since the first Starrcast is, hey, what can we do better? What can we do differently? What can we do bigger? How can we get better? And I'm excited to get that opportunity. And I think the winner in that type of thinking is going to be the fans. We've got 22 shows on Fight. So even if you can't make it to Starrcast, you can see, you know, 4 days worth of content over 30 hours. And you don't have to leave your house. It's live. It's on demand. It's in HD. It's unlimited replays. It's the best of everything you enjoy about wrestling.
Hey, Conrad, it's interesting that you didn't foresee like this, you know, AEW coming into formation. I didn't even really know about the Tony Khan thing or anything, and he was there at all in, you know, and all that. But I just wasn't aware of that and his connection with wrestling so much. But I just, you know, I kind of saw all this coming, all of it.
Well, I didn't. I just assumed, you know, they're going to make offers with 2 commas in it, and guys, you know, you put 2 commas in something, people start to pay attention. Yeah. And to me, that's what they would do because that's what almost everyone else has done, right? Yeah. So I just sort of assumed that maybe not all of them, but some of them would go that way. Yeah. And to find out that none of them do, and now All Elite Wrestling becomes a thing, that's crazy.
And I also, honestly, I foresaw, like, the type of thing like Undertaker, ended up not being on Starrcast. I kind of foresaw that kind of thing starting to happen too. It was like after Starrcast and All In, I'm like, okay, like the kumbaya, everything is kind of gonna not be as much moving forward. It's because like this is serious shit, right? Like, AEW is going to be announcing a hell of a TV deal, and shit's going to be on.
Well, I mean, I didn't know that it would happen like that, but I did know that we got everybody's attention. It went from being, this little thing that these guys are going to try, and then they saw how everyone was talking about it, and it got everyone's attention, and then all of a sudden people started to take note. But I also thought that would just make their offers bigger, and they would wind up going, and they didn't. But
it did make some of the offers bigger, and I think they used that to, and it's helped, talent that's already in WWE, like, to get raises and things of that nature. Like from the company point of view, they're not too happy about all this, but, let's be honest, the talent, like, even though they might not say openly, they're ecstatic about this whole situation, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's more places to work, it's more leverage, it's more choices, it's options, and you don't feel pigeonholed anymore. And you think back, over all the changes that wrestling has went through in the last 5 or 6 years. What if AEW was an option 5 or 6 years ago? What might it look like now? Yeah. Would CM Punk be doing something? What would Dolph Ziggler have resigned? You've got so many little sort of what ifs that could have happened along the way. And
Conrad, mark my words, CM Punk is going to show up before it's all said and done. And I guarantee it.
Double or Nothing or All Elite?
Somewhere.
Okay,
maybe not right away, but would they get that TV going? Come on. He ain't going to sit on the fucking sidelines.
Well, I mean, I think most people would say that they'd like to see him back. And as a wrestling fan, I would like to. I was sort of out of wrestling, not paying attention. And then the internet blew up. And I remember the day, it was June 27th. And everybody was talking about the pipe bomb. And I was like, wait a minute, what is a pipe bomb? I mean, I know what it is, but in wrestling, I don't understand. And so then, I found it and I was like, okay, no, wait a minute. I remember this guy from Ring of Honor. Apparently okay, I'm in. I'm going to watch that pay-per-view this weekend. And it pulled me back in. So I think a lot of wrestling fans sort of feel that with him. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him and a few other names who allegedly aren't happy with their lot in life right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of people in the WWE, Bruce Pritchard is now working at the WWE, and Sunday, May 26th at 12 p.m., it appears to be one of the final live shows of Something to Wrestle With.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, it is the last live one. No, but that doesn't mean that won't change. But Bruce is busier than a one-armed paper hanger right now. He's got conference calls that start at 11 p.m. at night, and they go until 4:45 in the morning, and then the next one is at 9 a.m. So that's his new reality. Yeah. And so the idea that he's trying to juggle all of that and try to, make it to St. Louis for a live show at the Chuckle Hut, that's difficult.
Hey, so Conrad, when Bruce went back to work, my first assumption was they just did that to fuck with you over the Undertaker thing.
Yeah,
but I don't think so.
I listened to your podcast and I heard that. I love it. A lot of credit there, and that would be awesome if it's like, yo, you got Undertaker, well, I got Bruce. I think we should appreciate that the format we use on my podcast just drives traffic to the network.
Yes.
That's all it does. It just sells stuff they own. It's just driving traffic to their property. I don't think there's going to be any issue with us doing the podcast, but just schedule wise, as long as Bruce is at this breakneck pace, riding shotgun with Vince, the live shows are going to have to wind down. And I wanted to go out with a bang. So the last one on the docket is Sunday, and nice. It's going to be fun. So if you've enjoyed the podcast and you want to see the live show and you've never had a chance, you can watch live for the very first time at StarrcastOnFight.com.
Hey, so also, a couple of quick things. I was listening to your 83 Weeks with Eric, and you were talking about Slamboree 97. I shot you a text, or it was either a text or a fucking DM. I can't remember which. But like I elaborated on the main event, like with myself, Keven, and Scott versus Piper Green and Rick and Nate. But I just wanted to tell you I appreciate your kind words from me in that, Conrad. That shit means a lot to me, and from Eric too. You know, like it's really nice to be because that's how I felt I was at that time. You know, and I was, you know, that it was a situation where, and I get it from like Roddy and Rick's standpoint, it would have been a bigger deal.
Let's explain what we're talking about. So there was 6 men.
Yeah.
We're on one side, it's Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, and Kevin Green, and on the other side, it's Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Sean Waltman. And allegedly, a couple of the legends on the other team said, "Hey, we'd really like to see Hogan in there." And of course, Flair has history with Hogan, and Piper has history with Hogan. So maybe that made sense from a booking standpoint. But somebody thought, hey, you know what? We do need somebody in there to make Kevin Green look good, and we need somebody to pull a match out of Roddy Piper, who is a great brawler, but sometimes maybe not there technically. Let's make sure we've got somebody in here to be the glue to this match, and that was you. And anybody who's a real wrestling fan could put 2 and 2 together and see your value in that match.
Yeah. So, yeah, leading up into that, so I get word that they're trying to keep you out of this match, you know. And so, oh my God, that lit a fire under my ass, Conrad. And so I'm going out there on TV talking all kinds of shit about Rick. And I mean, a lot of it was just like over the line. Like when you're out on the road, your wife's at, you know, in my hotel room, stupid shit like that, you know? And then, so yeah, it really, it led to some really compelling, you know, TV, and I think people really want to see Rick kick the shit out of me, you know. And so, like, you know, I look back and I feel bad about like some of the ways I disrespected Rick, but when we got in a ring together, I did my best because I'm such a huge fan of his. I did my best to, you know, to make up for it.
Well, it was a great match, and it was in Charlotte. So, you know, Kevin Green, who played for the Panthers at the time, you know, he's their all-pro linebacker, one of the big stars on the team, local hometown hero. And Ric Flair is coming back after shoulder surgery, after a long layoff, and he's coming back in Charlotte. So the idea that they're in the main event makes a lot of sense. But with the heat that the NWO had, you could argue, well, maybe they should go over. And I think it surprised everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Not one guy took the pin, but all 3 of the bad guys.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that because that was what I was telling you in the text. So we were fucking with them the whole time and telling them, oh, we're not going to put you over. We're not going to put you over. And then when we got to the building, we're like, oh, we're all 3 laying down. Not just one of us, all fucking 3 of us. And the look on their face was like, huh? And it was such a great moment. I was so, and if you watch it, you know how guys get beat and then they instinctively roll out of the fucking ring?
Yep.
We laid there. You could have drawn chalk outlines around us on purpose for them to stand over us because that's how you fucking do it, Conrad.
Well, and you guys did it. And if you haven't seen that in a while, you should go check it out. Slamboree 1997. A 6-man main event was not common back then. I guess it's not now either, but it's one heck of a match, and I think people don't talk about it enough.
And also, I'm enjoying your girl with JR. I'm enjoying it. I just saw a little. I listened to a little bit of it. How's that going so far?
It's great, man. You know, our first episode did record downloads for his show, and our second episode beat week 1. So we're trending up in a big way, and we've got some fun stuff planned coming up this week. We're talking about In Your House, Beware of Dog, which was a 96 pay-per-view where they lost power to the building right in the middle of the show. So we'll talk about how Vince McMahon reacted to that. Yeah. And then next week, we're going to do something really special. We're going to visit Over the Edge 1999, which is the day we tragically lost Owen Hart. Mm-hmm. And that's on the 20-year anniversary of that. And that's also the day that Starrcast will get kicked off. So we're going to try to pay tribute to Owen on the 20-year anniversary of his passing.
Hey, so on the episode I was listening to, there was a question, or you brought it up concerning, you know, Scott Hall's failed drug test.
Right.
Look, hey, that was like a couple of months old, Conrad, and I hear what Jim's trying to say, but that fucking, it took a couple of weeks to get the results back to that. They were sitting on that thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as you're out here making money for us, we're going to sweep it under the rug. But if we're going to be competition for somebody else, we're going to slap you on the hand.
And he got mad, and then through that, you know, oh, you failed and you got to leave the building. And then I think there was a like, oh shit, this suspension's gonna roll into WrestleMania, and we got these big plans for him and Roddy. And so, like, you know, Vince actually asked Scott about working Mania, and Scott's like, for free? That's a true story.
Wow. Well, there you go. You should do like the after show. You should do like the post game show.
Every now and again, Conrad, like just for your own little thing, not, you know, for anything else, just to like I'll shoot you a little text about something like that, you know?
No, and I love it because you get the other side of the story, but I never want to betray confidence and go back and talk about
it. You're welcome to. I don't give a fuck. Hey, so is there anything else before we go?
I have one more question for you, Conrad. I know Starrcast 2 is going to be huge, and I guess I know we have to see what happens after that. Are you thinking about expanding the brand or having satellite events or just take one event as it goes?
You know, in my mind, Starrcast belongs to myself and Cody Rhodes. And of course, legally and on paper, it's all mine. And Cody's not a partner and he's not profit sharing. But he was the guy when I made a pitch and he said, hey, I like this. And we'll do this with you. He believed in me to be a first-time promoter because I've never promoted anything in my life. You know, I've done my mortgage company and I've done some podcasts, but I'd never promoted a convention at all. And he was willing to sort of put his brand on Starrcast. And that was a big risk, and I really appreciate that. So I'm not going to do anything with the name Starrcast on it unless Cody's involved. Okay. And if there's not a big event for AEW or whatever Cody does in the future, I don't imagine that it'll be called Starrcast.
Hey, Conrad, real quick, I just saw something about this. I think it was yesterday, and it was really cool to see. Real Life Kaz, the former WWE head, WWE writer, like is going to be like, that's his Twitter handle, Real Life Kaz. Kazim, I can't fucking pronounce his last name. Sorry, Kaz. It's going to be having a panel on inclusiveness in wrestling.
Absolutely. So we've got 2 hotels this year. It's not just what we've been talking about over at Caesar's Palace. It's also Tuscany Suites and Casino. And at Tuscany, the events are absolutely free. So if you're in Las Vegas and for whatever reason you can't swing it at Starrcast at Caesar's Palace, go by Tuscany. We've got the documentary Dark Side of the Ring on a loop, and we've got the podcast movement stage, which is one stage show after another. And one of those will be all about the, you know, wrestling with stereotypes, I guess is the name of the panel. So it's a discussion about race and gender and minority representation. And as far as I know, nothing like that has ever happened on stage, and we're excited to have that as one of the events.
Hats off to you for that, Conrad. That's important shit, man. And I think a lot of times we try to avoid those kind of conversations when it comes to wrestling.
Well, I appreciate that. And, you know, I can't take credit for it. My buddy over at Sporting News helped put it together. And I think it's going to be tremendous. And I think it's something that needs to happen. And we're excited to offer for absolutely free at Tuscany Suites and Casino. And there's other fun stuff there, like this little thing called Get High and Watch Wrestling.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out, Conrad, because it's, you know, we're used to doing it in the theater and all. Anyways, yeah, it's going to be fun.
It will be fun, and we hope that everybody can check it out. It's starrcast.com, STARRCAST.com, and I appreciate how kind you've always been about the event. You've always put it over really, really hard, and we appreciate your support and being a great friend of all the stuff that I'm doing, and I want to try to reciprocate that for you any chance I get.
Thank you, Conrad. Is anything before we go? All right, That's it. All right, Conrad. Hey, man, thank you so much for taking the time, dude. Dude again. I said dude again. Conrad, you know, I know how busy you are, man. So that for you to shoehorn me in here like that, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
I'm thrilled to do it. You know, the idea that a guy I grew up enjoying all of his work actually wants to talk to me is the coolest thing ever. So the honor was all mine. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Conrad. Have an awesome day.
Thanks, man. You too.
Nice. Sweet.
Like we forgot to clap. I was like, wait, no one else is clapping.
Well, it was such a nice moment. We just like,
yeah. That was really great information. I know. Call him back. We need a clap. No.
All right. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Starrcast sounds fun.
Are you going to be there,
24th?
Flobo?
No, I actually have to work that weekend.
Damn it.
I know. I would love to go.
Hey, Flobo, thank you for popping in. I hope you
thanks for
hope you
inviting
felt
me.
comfortable. I hope you, you know, We didn't talk a lot about Raw this week, but usually we talk more about it.
Oh, for sure. No, thanks for the invite. This is definitely a
please come back.
Man.
Yeah.
I'm one of the greatest European champions of all time.
Thank
I'm
you.
a huge European champion, Mark. So I'm totally even.
It had its moments, the European Championship.
Yeah.
Denise, what's going on?
All right, well, here we go. Before we go, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Xpac12360 Show for clips, exclusive news, all of that stuff. And if you guys want to follow me on YouTube, I'm about to hit 10,000. I'm about 160 subscribers away, so hopefully that happens. YouTube.com/Denise Salcedo. You guys can check me out on Instagram and Twitter at _Denise Salcedo. Also, after Double or Nothing, I will be hosting the Suburban Fight Show. That's going to be at 11:59 after Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. So I'll post about that on my Twitter as well.
Just subscribed. Bam!
Thank you.
Hey, what's your info, man?
You can find me on Twitter at FlowBoys, on Instagram at Flowbito, and Flowbito.com.
Nice. Okay, and did you mention the show's YouTube?
The
Yeah, youtube.com/Xpac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
YouTube.com/Xpac. Also, Twitter, Xpac12 at Xpac12360. I'm Steve Kaufman. You can find me almost exclusively at Steve Kaufman. That is KAUFMANN. I'm involved in a lot of YouTube pages, including this one. Also, YouTube.com/83weeks, YouTube.com/Something to Wrestle, YouTube.com/Ric Flair, YouTube.com/WHW, and also you can find me on Patreon.com/83weeks, where I do an hour with Eric Bischoff.
If you haven't, sorry,
Please.
I didn't mean to just roll right into talking about my shit again, but I will anyway.
It's relevant.
Yeah, and now I almost forgot what the fuck I was going to say. I've been on Instagram more. Finally got my Instagram account verified, and so I'm posting more on there. Not that you need it to be verified to fucking post, but at Real X-Pac. Did you already say that?
No, I just promoted the shows.
And what about the Instagram for the show?
Yeah, Steve did it.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm going to be trying to do more shit on the Instagram stuff. So if you're not already subscribing, please go do that. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you right here next week from AfterBuzz TV Studios in North Hollywood, California.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark B. Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire Xpac12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow Xpac on Twitter at TheRealXpac and email us at Xpac12360show@gmail.com.